The tit, the most unassuming of bird species. The tit is from a large family of small passerine birds which mainly occur in the northern hemisphere. Members of this family are commonly referred to as tits throughout much of the English-speaking world. These birds are mainly small, stocky, woodland species. Some have crests or beards. Just like another animal, the Alba commune pine, they range from 4 to 8 inches. Many species live around human habitation and come readily for nuts or seed, and learn to take other foods. This message was presented by the DeWeather Institute for Climate Knowledge. The DeWeather Cares Knights Tits Kickball Tournament is coming this October and benefits 4 cancer-related charities. See DeWeather Center on Facebook for more information.
If you liked James Watspin in the Ezra IndyCar series,
I don't care what it is. I don't wreck when I do this, so yeah.
You know what? Marbles auto clearing, so technically you can clear the marbles off the tires by doing it.
Oh, you hate to see it. You absolutely hate to see it.
Oh, and someone's off the track. That's James Watson warming up his tires. He loses it down into the grass. Unbelievable.
then you'll love James Watspin 2, Arcageddon.
If there's one thing every car guy hates, it's cleaning the garage. Do you want to take most of the time and hassle out of that job? Then call Zone Garage of Eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Agnes and her crew will have your garage, shop, basement, or even your porch looking great all the time. With unique patterns and designs, plus the ability to incorporate your logo or any artwork, your space will never have looked better. Installation is done in 1 day, guaranteed, and Zone Garage offers a 20-year warranty on the top coat. Their coatings are durable, anti-slipped, and impact resistant. Give them a call at 570-856-6067. That's 570-856-6067 for Zone Garage of Eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey.
Do what?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 10 of the Indy Pro 2000 official here in Montreal, Canada.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 10 of the PM18 series at
Oh, that's beautiful. This is fantastic. My name is Chris Graham with the National Racing Network. It is a pleasure to have everybody here with us. Connor Baldwin, our producer extraordinaire, trying to help me out while my dumb fat fingers wouldn't unmute my mic. Joined in the booth tonight by James Watson and Zach Evans. And I tell you what here, gentlemen, we'll come to you first, James. This place is fast, but it's pretty tricky. We could see everything from a bit of a draft race all the way out to the usual suspects doing their thing.
I'm just disappointed because I don't think anybody heard my great job doing my impression of you trying to anyway, yeah, this track is it's kind of nuts because it's like a weird evil love child of a permanent proper course and a street course. You have a lot of free flowing fast parts of it, but then you have a lot of chicanes where you are looking right at a wall, and if you don't hit your marks properly, you will go in it. Especially the final corner, that last chicane. My friends, there's a reason why they call it the Wall of Champions, because doesn't matter who you are, even world champions, you will stuff it into that wall at some point.
And just getting a quick look there at Greg Seitz, and I'll tell you what here, Zach. First off, welcome to the NRN family. Thank you very much for joining us here this evening. And Greg Seitz, and really from top to bottom here, this field is deep. The talent level is, quite frankly, insane. And we're really expecting to see some of the best on the iRacing platform here this evening.
And I know as we were looking at the field before tonight's race, there's some names that maybe we don't recognize from following this series throughout the course of this season, but look to be pretty stout as, of course, we're seeing the qualifying time start to trickle in. So it'll be very interesting to see how the field shakes out as we wrap up qualifying over the next few minutes and see if any of those names that maybe we don't recognize right off are able to challenge Greg Seitz.
Yeah, Greg has not turned a lap yet, but he is out on the race course, currently working his warm-up lap. Everett Paddock going to be your quick timer, 1 minute 31.622 seconds. Second quick, Chris Roberts at a 1:33.1. You're talking a 1.5 second gap from fastest to second quick. No real surprises there as we follow along here with Jason Owens. A lot of the drivers, there's a ton of names in here that, quite frankly, like you said here, Zach, we just don't recognize. Almost turns this race into a little bit of a wild card.
It does, and I think, especially with this track, it's kind of like James was saying. It has so many unique aspects. It has the long straightaways. It has the sharp corners. It makes it kind of tricky to really be good all the way around the track, because you've got to handle the flowing corners, the sharp corners, the long straights. You really have to put together the full package to be fast around this place. So it's going to be a good test to see who out of this field can stand out tonight.
John Dinkle moving up to second quick as we're down to 3 minutes remaining in the qualification session. 1 minute 32.604 seconds. And we're going to pick up with Greg Seitz here, who's, well, quite frankly, expected to do Greg Seitz kind of things around the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve. The numbers on Greg Seitz are, quite frankly, unbelievable. He is currently first and second overall in the iRacing point standings for the Indy Pro 2000 Championship. The primary account, I guess you would say, the Greg Seitz account, 8 weeks, 27 starts, 21 wins, 25 top fives, 20 poles, leading 517 of a possible 781 laps. Just insane. He's also number 2 in points with his second account. That one has 60 starts, 53 wins, 60 top fives, 46 poles. He's led 1,079 of a possible 1,444 laps. There is nobody close to what Greg Seitz is doing right now. The interesting one comes with the third position, though. Mitch Green sitting on 1,085 points. Fabio Berchtold sitting on 1,059 points. So only about 25 points or so separating Mitch Green from Fabio Berchtold. Not only is that for third overall, but also first place in Division 2. How about this one at the top of the speed charts? Greg Seitz, 77 thousandths of a second slower than Everett Paddock. However, you wonder if that's just getting the tires warmed up. He goes purple in Sector 2, personal best in Sector 1. May see Greg Seitz head to the top of the speed charts here by the time this lap is finished. Long run down to the final chicane. Spits you right out into that wall of champions. So easy to make a mistake there. Down across the start-finish line. New quick time, top of the board, 1 minute 31.206 seconds for Greg Seitz. No real surprises here, James. Greg Seitz going to continue to do Greg Seitz things.
I mean, is Greg Seitz really that good? I mean, he can't even beat Greg Seitz. So Greg Seitz can't beat Greg Seitz. What's the point? Like, come on now.
Yes. Yes. We're going to pick up here with the number 12 of Mike Coates out of Pennsylvania. And qualifications have wrapped up, so we are going to head to the grid. Once again, Greg Seitz, well, he's doing his thing here. Picks up another pole position. And let's take the quick track walk. Actually, before we do that, let's get our weather conditions up here for the evening. As always, presented by our friends at DeWeather Center. Offensively accurate weather for eastern Pennsylvania. 68-degree ambient temperature. Wind's going to be out of the west at 8 miles an hour. 68-degree track surface temperature as well. Not sure if we're at sunrise or sunset here, but you can definitely see the shadows and that orange glow out on the racetrack. Definitely going to be a very, very fast circuit here this evening. Let's get you your starting lineup for tonight's race. On the front row will be Greg Seitz and Everett Paddock. John Dinkel and Chris Roberts will occupy row number 2. Jason Owens, Simon Fell on row number 3. Fantastic qualifying run there for Jason Owens. James Curtis, Donald Poole on row number 4. Row 5 going to have Alejandro Bernal and Mike Coates. Bless Lopez and Frank Fernandez on row number 6. Row 7, Abel Rodriguez and Mike Holler. Carl Giangrande and Darren Rice on the 8th and final row. Holler, Giangrande, and Rice not setting a time in qualifications. Field going to be starting on the back straightaway, leading into, I guess, what really could theoretically almost be called the front straightaway here. Going to be leading in to that wall of champions, turn number 15. They call that 2 separate corners. It's basically one chicane where it leads into the pit straight. Very quick right hand kink turn number 1, snap left number 2. Then the Senna corner, turn number 3, the carousel. Hooking back through very quick, 4, 5, and then you get to 6, 7, and 8. The Pont de la Concorde. Then you make your run all the way down to the hairpin. Fields off the final corner, and as always, race fans, the start of this one is all yours. One lap very quickly in the books. Greg Seitz opening up a little bit of a lead. Call it 3 car lengths over Everett Paddock. Big issue back in the pack. James Curtis, Donald Poole also Bless Lopez sound like they're going to be involved in this one. Possibly started with Carl Giangrande getting off track. Well, yeah, sort of a big bottle up. Jason Owens way overcooked it. Curtis goes around. 3 cars going to be collected. Curtis, Poole, and Lopez all having to take the tow back into the pit area, and no backup cars available here. We're going to pick it back up with this battle for the race lead. Slide back here, pick up 6th place running Jason Owens. 5th place Simon Fell just ahead of him. Mike Coates, big dive down into turn number 10. That hairpin, such an iconic location and such a great place, James, when you really talk about the passing opportunities here. There's not a ton of them, so you really got to capitalize if somebody makes a mistake getting into a place like the hairpin.
Yeah, that's probably the most stressful corner on the track, is because you are absolutely screwed if you mess up the entry, because you have most of the track in straightaway right there in front of you. If you don't nail the exit, you are losing at least a second, and many positions along with that.
Yeah, Zach, it's really one of those deals where iRacing is all about maximizing the corner exit speed. If you screw up the entry to that corner and blow the exit, you can kiss almost half the racetrack goodbye.
And not to mention, especially in a situation like that, where if you've got somebody in close proximity to you, maybe even getting a tow, getting into the hairpin, if you miss that entry, you're leaving the door wide open to lose the spot before you ever get out of the corner. Not to mention all the speed you're going to give up going down the ensuing straightaway.
Here's where you're going to see Jason Owens get that big draft on Simon Fell. Oh, Fell's going to slide off the racetrack. He's into the inside Armco. Simon Fell going to try to get that car looped back around here. He's going to be able to get it moving again. Simon Fell going to lose 3 spots and a ton of track position. Already running 11 seconds behind Jason Owens.
Simon, no!
Yeah, just a tiny bit too much throttle too soon.
And right here, you're just hoping.
For Simon Fell.
And right there, you're just hoping nobody comes around that corner, because it's such a blind spot already, and you know you're in the groove, but you're trying to get going again, and you're just hoping, please don't hit me, please don't hit me, please don't hit me.
And then trying to turn around, Austin Powers intensifies right there. There's just nothing you can do.
That is a perfect way to say it, too. This place looks fairly wide and flowing. There's a lot of room. You can run cars side by side. It's really not all that wide when you look at it, though. It is very much akin to a street track in that your barriers on just about all sides.
It really, there's just not a lot of runoff once you get off the racetrack itself. Is where you get into issues, especially along this back straight here at Montreal. If something goes wrong, there's really nowhere to hide, and that's when you can run into problems.
Recapping what's going on at the front of the field, Greg Seitz with an 0.8 of a second lead over Everett Paddock. Oh man, Coates almost got back into the back end of Jason Owens there once again into turn number 10. John Dinkle running in third, already 7.25 seconds back of race leader Greg Seitz. Chris Roberts another 1.5 back of Dinkle. This is by far the best battle on the racetrack right now.
And look at the run there coming through the chicane heading towards turn 1 here. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I think he's got to take a look here going into turns 1.
Oh, Coates just about overcooks the corner. What a pass down to the inside out of Senna. That was brilliant by Mike Coates.
I was hoping that
was licked.
I was hoping that Jason was going to pull the crossover. I think he just timed it a little too late. I think he was just a little too far away to really set it up, but I think he was seriously thinking about it. Because Jason cut him a lot of slack coming into that corner. I feel like he had something up his sleeve.
Mike Holler now going to have a look to the right-hand side of Jason Owens. Owens, I don't want to say gives up the spot. Jason is very much an oval specialist. Getting his new Simreg all put back together and whatnot, he's gotten more comfortable on the road courses, but you can tell still a very big learning curve here for Jason Owens.
He's doing fine on the left-hand corners here.
There aren't many of them at Montreal, unfortunately.
Which is why he's in 7th.
So Coates and Holler both get around Jason Owens here on lap number 5. The gap still sitting right about 1 second for Greg Seitz over Everett Paddock. Seitz just set the fastest lap of the race at a 1 minute 31.683 second lap. 1 minute 31.736. The lap time for Everett Paddock last time by. Everybody else, John Dinkel's running a minute 32.6. Everybody else is 1 minute 33 or higher. We've seen Greg Seitz do some goofy stuff before. I don't think he's got enough of a lead on Everett Paddock to really try any of that testing lines and some of that kind of stuff that we've seen him do in other races.
You joke, but he's going to go through the hairpin backwards and he'll probably win.
Continuing to follow this battle between Mike Coates and Mike Holler. Holler thought about having a peek down into the hairpin. Big lockup from Coates. He's going to slide wide. That's going to open the door for Holler. I'll tell you what, Coates overcooks that entry. He takes that corner differently than every other driver I've seen go through there. But he seems to make it work because where Mike Holler should have caught up with that big lockup, Coates was just gone down the straightaway.
Yeah, I don't...
I'm into this final chicane. What a pass.
Oh, he's in the wall.
He's into the wall of champions.
It looks like he's been able to survive it and drive away from it, but definitely a big moment. Oh, maybe not. Look at how wide he goes through turn 1 there. He might have a little more damage than it appeared at first.
He's straight up not having a good time right now.
I would imagine it's also just fairly difficult to get yourself settled down. That's a fairly short run from turn 15 to down there into the right-hand kink part of turn 1. Not a lot of time to feel the car out there.
No.
Getting the comments pulled up here so we can hopefully get a chance to talk with everybody here. And Matt Wagner checking in saying, "Good evening, guys. Sorry, James. Still proud of you, and thanks for letting me be a part of your team this year." Look at that.
Yeah.
Nice to Matt to check in there.
Heck yeah, Wags. Can't wait for us to run it back next season. Let's go.
Seems like they've sort of gotten this batting order settled in here. Mike Holler, definitely one of the quicker cars that we've seen here on a week-to-week basis. He's able to get around Mike Coates. Coates was quicker than Jason Owens was, so that battle has settled in. What has gotten very, very tight is the fight for the race lead. Greg Seitz has seen his lead evaporate from over 1 second down to about a half second now back to Everett Paddock. One of the interesting things to note here about the Indy Pro 2000 Championship is these are all sprint races. This race only 20 laps long. No pit stops will be required. This truly is who can set 20 qualifying laps in succession.
Paddock definitely made up some ground there in the hairpin. Got a pretty good run going in down this straightaway here, heading into the final chicane. Really good set of corners for him there. Ooh, I think he might get a chance to make up a little bit more time here as well. Sights went just a little bit wide there into turn 1, and we're going to see Paddock stayed about even through that section of the track, but definitely there are some opportunities here for Paddock to keep closing that gap.
Yeah, that's going to be the one to watch here as this race continues. It basically boils down to, does Greg Seitz make a mistake? And these are not exactly massive mistakes that we're talking about here either. This is a little bit on corner entry, a little bit on corner exit, and all of a sudden Everett Paddock's going to be right back in this.
Yeah.
And go ahead. I was just going to say, this is where you really have, especially if you're a guy like Greg, you just have to focus as much as you can on your marks. Don't worry so much about, having the guy in your mirrors. If you take care of business, there's a reason you're leading this race right now. It's, you set the fastest qualifying lap. You turned good laps for the first half of this race. You just got to focus on your marks and running your race and let that take care of itself.
Getting a look on board here with Everett Paddock. Last time by, set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 31.54 seconds. Greg Seitz just a tick faster, but you're talking only about 600ths of a second. Paddock starting to close in here. Hear that little bit of wheel spin on corner exit.
Yeah, Everett didn't really get a good run through the corner that time. It kind of understeered through the center of the corner, and it really screwed up his exit, and Greg was able to pull him a little bit. He's still very close, but can't really afford too many more mistakes like that. When it comes to someone like Greg, 0.6 of a second might as well be a mile.
Yeah, we have not seen... I'll say this way, we haven't seen many mistakes of the small variety out of Greg Seitz this season. He's won every race that we've broadcast, I think with the exception of one, possibly this season. Really has been impressive, but now they're going to start to catch lap traffic. James, could that play a big role in helping Everett Paddock get around here if Seitz catches traffic at the wrong spot?
Oh, absolutely. If he doesn't get through, then Everett seriously has a great opportunity to try to sneak by somewhere or try to get a run going on him.
And not to draw too much attention to it, I don't know, it might be just some iRacing witchcraft, but it looks like the car they are closing in on is having a lot of trouble with locking up the brakes on some of these sharp corners. He kindly moves out of the way here, so he won't be a factor anymore. But sometimes you catch some of these guys and they're up, maybe they're fighting some damage and they're trying to limp around or whatever the case may be, but it can really get sketchy at times with catching guys that are quite a few seconds slower than you on pace.
Yeah, you never necessarily know what that driver has encountered, and especially, I mean, now granted, the overall strength of field is pretty stout here. 2149 is the overall I rating for the race. Some of the drivers towards the back of the field, though, have definitely had some issues. I mean, we have a couple of drivers that are sub 1,000 I ratings here in a top split race. Does that change your thought process as a driver when you know that the guys you're catching, you're one, not used to seeing, and two, you know they're probably not the most experienced in the car either?
Yeah, you're definitely going to hesitate a little bit. You have no idea what they're going to do. And if you're not too careful, you can send a pass that ends your race and their race.
The really tricky part.
Producers chirping in my ear here about throwing shade at these sub 1,000 iRating guys when I'm one of them. You know what? I wish I had more time to do this iRacing stuff. I could be half as talented as our production team. Go ahead there, Zach.
Well, I mean, the really tricky part is, I mean, I can relate to that a little bit from the Silver Crown stuff, especially if you end up in the second split on Monday nights. A lot of times that is filled with guys who are trying to Silver Crown for the very first time, and of course, if you've watched that car on Monday nights, you know how treacherous that can be on some of the short tracks we run on. So that's when it gets really interesting when you're lapping guys where they can't tell you pass me high or pass me low because they don't know where the car is going to go when they get into the corner. They're just trying their best.
We're sticking here at the front of the field because it's the closest fight on the racetrack by a wide margin. Third place, John Dinkel, running 14, almost 15 seconds back of the race leaders. Another 3 seconds back to Chris Robertson, fourth, and another 2.5 seconds or so back to Mike Holler in the fifth position. Couple of decent fights starting possibly to develop towards the back of the pack, but they're all over 1 second. So we're going to stay right here as Everett Paddock continues to just chip tenths away out of the lead that Greg Seitz has. And if you're going to beat Greg Seitz, this is almost how you're going to have to do it. Stalk him, stalk him, stalk him, and then pounce when the opportunity arises.
It's going to be really tough. And I mean, not only do you have to wait, hope Greg makes a mistake, but honestly, there's certain places on this track where it doesn't matter if he makes a mistake, unless it's a huge one, like an off. It's not a passing opportunity, and you're just going to have to watch it happen and gain what you can, but you're not going to have a chance to really stick the nose in there except for, really only 2 or 3 spots on this track.
How about last time by 1 minute 32.25 second laps for both Greg Seitz and Everett Paddock. I mean, now granted, you're talking about only trying to find 6/10, but that really can be the deal breaker when you're talking about the gain might only be in the hundredths or even thousandths of a second.
Yeah, Greg is a machine. If he's going to make a mistake, chances are it's not going to be worth much. So Everett has to be perfect himself. Otherwise, we're not really going to see much of a fight.
Paddock continues to close in. Seitz just a little bit wide, maybe carrying a little bit more speed through that final chicane as lap number 14 goes up on the board. Going to be down to 7 laps to go here in Montreal.
So, for somebody like myself who's admittedly not as familiar with these cars, even in this sprint race format, I know that you don't have to worry about pit stops, but how considerable is the tire fall off over the course of 20 laps here?
Pick up a Hot Shoe Racewear instant replay here. Had a big incident back in the pack. Well, looks like that was Abel Rodriguez pulling off the racetrack. Taking a look at another replay here. Trouble for Darren Rice. Also, Carl Giangrande having an issue. Yeah, basically same spot, going straight off the race course.
Maybe Abel owes him money and he was trying to get that from him before he logged out.
The battle for fourth is getting tight here. Mike Holler has caught up to Chris Roberts. And this one could be a pretty darn good one as we get down here into the later stages of this race. Mike Holler, definitely one of the more aggressive drivers we've seen. And we've seen it tonight with the big pass outside into turn number 1.
This is looking like a pretty aggressive move into turn 1, but Chris gave him plenty of room trying to stick the nose back on the inside for the switchback, but I don't know if he's got to get the run off the corner to make it happen.
Impressive pass by Mike Holler. Once again, throwing it deep. Possibly a little bit of trouble towards the front of the field for Everett Paddock. The lead back up over 0.8 of a second now as we follow along with this battle, but closing right back in. And James, I would imagine this is one of those deals where you're really talking about a situation where the draft can really help you if you're going to try to come back from a little mistake like that.
Yeah, Everett's already back within half a second again. This is definitely the track to have some little slip up, but still, you can't be doing that when you're trying to go up against Greg.
Just got the 5-finger salute at the start-finish line, down inside of 5 laps remaining here in Montreal. And I can't believe it, but we're down to just 2 races remaining in the 2021 Season 3 schedule following tonight. Next week, 50 laps around Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. After the IndyCar Series spends the weekend there this weekend, we're going to take it on in the virtual world next Thursday night. Then we close out the season at the Green Hell, the Nürburgring Nordschleife, a 5-lap race on a 14-kilometer long race course. Or excuse me, a 14-mile long racetrack. 20-some kilometers, 28, something like that, kilometers long. 154 corners around that place.
Graham just got confused because he wanted to do a European tribute to our fine French friend who is not here with us tonight. Vive la France!
Yes, I'm corrected here. 22.8 kilometers is the official distance as measured for the Nürburgring. Trouble on the racetrack for Jason Owens. Get you a Hot Shoe Racewear instant replay. Down into the hairpin. A little half spin. Owens grabs the gear, takes off.
Yeah, I think he was just going for a quick little drift for the fans there in the hairpin. I don't know. I think it was fine.
I say style points to make sure that
There you
number
go.
87 Extra Life Riley Children's Foundation car gets on the broadcast. It's really interesting to watch Greg Seitz turn laps here because in the world of sim racing, you don't necessarily think of hustling a race car like you might in the real world. You can see Greg Seitz is sitting right on the edge of control there with regards to the slip angle and making sure the tires have the needed grip when he needs it.
And that's one of those things that, man, it's so hard to master in any sim racing aspect because you don't have the quite literal seat of the pants feel. It really just comes down to reps, experience, knowing exactly how these cars are going to react with certain inputs. And sure, there's certain, peripherals or upgrades or wheels or pedals or motion rigs or whatever that you can try to get to get closer to that, but you're never going to have it 100% like you would in the real world. So that's where just seat time really pays off.
And James, that's something we've even seen in the real world. Jimmy Johnson getting back to racetracks he's a little bit familiar with in an Indy car, and he put on a pretty good show. it goes to show you that the world of sim racing, while it might look very real, it at times is a completely different skill set.
Yeah, you're kind of having, in a lot of ways, you're having to guess. You're having to rely on your sight and the feelings in your arms for the most part, rather than what my father would always refer to as the assometer. You just kind of have to guess at where the car is going to go, like a hypothesis, a very educated guess. And there are just some guys who are just can do that a lot better than others.
Little bit of a bobble there out of Greg Seitz, and the lead is now down to 0.3 of a second as we're at 2 laps to go here in Montreal. Everett Paddock is closing in, and he's closing in a hurry.
So now the question becomes, if he can make a move, maybe get a strong toe, where does he make it? Does he make it going into the hairpin? Maybe one of those moves we've seen going into turn 1, like we've seen a lot from Mike Haller tonight. Where does he go for the pass?
The lead opens back up just a little bit. Last time by, Everett Paddock set the fastest lap of the race at a 1:31.41. And Greg Seitz just opens it right back up again. Penultimate trip through the hairpin. Paddock really sends it in deep. Maybe sacrificed a little bit on the corner exit speed. He's going to try to get the toe off of Seitz. The lead hasn't gotten any closer than 0.3 of a second. And we are going to be down to just 1 lap to go here in a couple of corners.
Look how hard both of them drive through the chicane there, coming to the white flag. I mean, there is just 10 tenths all the way, full commitment going into this final lap.
Trouble on the racetrack for Mike Coates. Gets to the quick hot shoe racewear instant replay here, down into the hairpin. Kind of same deal we saw with Jason Owens, just a little bit quick on the throttle application. Gets the car squared away.
Yeah, he seemed to fare a little better than Alec Coates tonight, and he didn't end up wrecked. Coates is not going to be happy with me for that.
Seitz has really just seemed to be better in the second sector, and it really takes away Paddock's ability to really get close enough in range for this hairpin, I think. But this is about as close as we've seen him.
Paddock sets overall fastest sector 2. He's going to be within half a car length. Great corner exit speed for Greg Seitz out of the hairpin. Only going to be 1 realistic shot left, and it's going to have to be a bonsai move into the final chicane. Through the final couple of corners down the front straightaway, checkered flag is in the air. Greg Seitz claims the win in Montreal by 0.3 of a second over Everett Paddock in a fantastic duel at the front of the field here this evening. John Dinkel's still out on the racetrack. He still has about 20 seconds or so to complete his lap. There's Dinkel coming across the line to finish 3rd. Mike Haller in the 4th position. What a drive for Mike Haller. Up 10 spots from where he started the race this evening. Ultimately just a couple of laps short of trying to claim a spot on the podium. Seeing Jason Owens over the line in the 7th position, and coming home in 8th will be Alejandro Bernal. And Tell you what here, guys. Overall, this pretty darn good race we saw here tonight. Good action throughout the field. Not a bad way to round out the night of broadcast here on the National Racing Network.
Quite an introduction for me to the broadcast booth here at NRN.
Drag race to the line for 10th. Carl Giangrande barely holding on over Abel Rodriguez. Gap about as close as we saw for the race win. But that should wrap up the field coming around here. Get you the race results. And hopefully be able to talk to our winners here in just a moment. Greg Seitz, your winner by 0.3 of a second over Everett Paddock. John Dinkle, Mike Collar, Chris Roberts round out your top 5. Mike Coates, Jason Owens, Alejandro Bernal, Simon Fell, and Carl Giangrande, the top 10. Abel Rodriguez, Darren Rice, Frank Fernandez, Donald Poole, and Bliss Lopez, the 15 cars still running at the finish. James Curtis going out with that early incident there in the hairpin. Take a look here. Let's get our victory lane interviews keyed up here. We'll start with third place finishing John Dinkle. Tell you what here, John, congratulations on a third place finish here this evening, but sort of like you were running a race all to yourself for the most part out there.
Yeah, it was still enjoyable, man. But I'm having tears right now because this will be my last race and for a while since I'll be heading out to college, and to finish it on such a high note feels good. Feels good.
Yeah, the race was pretty darn good there. And did you see Mike Holler closing late in that one, or was it kind of one of those where he's far enough back you could worry just about hitting your marks?
Yeah, I saw that closing in lap out, not really lap after lap, but I saw that he was there. I was hoping, I think it was Chris back there would hold him back and give me enough of a breathing room to make it comfortable. But we're buddies. I know we can fight cleanly, but. That was still something I had to look at.
Well, it was a very nice run for you to get up onto the podium here, and good luck heading off to school. And let's get all the thank yous and plugs in here too.
Yeah, thanks. I can't. I'm speechless.
All right, John. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it there, bud. Let's get our race runner-up here, Everett Paddock. And Everett, you were close stalking, and ultimately, I guess the opportunity just never presented itself to really try for a pass for the win.
Yeah, what do they say? If you're not the lead dog, the view never changes. Well, I had the view of Greg's rain light the whole race and just couldn't do much about it.
What was that like trying to chase him down? I mean, it looked like he might make a little mistake. You might make a little mistake. The gap really never closed, but there were points on that racetrack where you were absolutely faster. In fact, you had the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, there was certainly that was draft dated and helped, by being that close to Greg. But yeah, I felt there was some spots I felt a little more comfortable. I had a little more downforce, and that works out, when you're following a car with less downforce. You can take advantage on the straights, but not enough. Just enough to stay with him, not enough to pass him.
Well, it was a very nice run for you here tonight. Congratulations on the podium, and who would you like to thank?
Oh, I think I'll just do the usual shout-outs to the community managers, you guys for putting on the broadcast, and my teammates this week for a great setup. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate the time once again here, and let's check in with our winner, Greg Seitz. And Greg, that was a very impressive performance out there, and not easy having Everett stalking you basically for 15 laps?
Yeah, he made me work really hard for it. He did a great job kind of keeping the pressure on throughout the whole race.
How was the car from a setup perspective? It looked pretty much like it was on rails, but ultimately you never really know until we talk to the drivers.
Yeah, it handled really well. Turn 7 is a little bit tricky. It's kind of a weird turn, and And so that one, I actually kind of tailored my setup to be a little bit better there and compromise a little bit elsewhere. But yeah, I actually had a few moments. I don't know if you noticed on the broadcast where I had some technical glitches, like I couldn't get an upshift to work one time, and almost got Everett all over the back of me on that.
I guess that was the moment that we noticed. We went, "Whoa, that lead cut down by a bunch there." So, how do you manage that from the driver's seat while you're? Is that just a hope it works, or what goes through your head there?
Yeah, I mean, I had an incident last night where my steering locked up and took me into the wall. So I was, after that incident tonight, I was like, "Oh no, I hope nothing worse happens." Yeah, all you could really do is just keep pushing and hope for the best.
All right, bud. Well, congratulations once again on the win, and I think you can pretty much say you've locked up an overall championship here as well, unless something really insane happens in the last couple of weeks. So, congratulations, excuse me, congratulations on that as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm quite there yet, but yeah, it's getting close. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes the rest of the season.
All right, Greg. Thank you very much for checking in with us once again here. And who do you want to thank?
Thank you guys for the broadcast again. My team, Rust Racing, Everett, for doing such a good job keeping the pressure on, and a special shout out to one of my teammates, Nick. He and his wife just had a baby boy yesterday.
Well, there you go. Congratulations from us as well. Thank you very much, Greg. We appreciate the time here. And tell you what, guys, as we get ready to wrap things up, all in all, pretty darn good race here at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve this evening.
Yeah, that was a solid race. There was a lot of good battles, a lot of good racing for such a dicey track.
And next week, Zach, we're going to head off to Gateway, which that one will be a drafting pack race and about as different as you could go from a road course, lots of chicanes, to a very high-speed oval for these cars.
A very high-speed oval, but still a pretty tricky technical one. Of course, at Gateway, turns 1 and 2 different from turns 3 and 4. Really have to be on your toes to pull off quick laps there, and got to do it 50 times. So it should still be a very interesting race.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your assistance here in the booth this evening. James Watson, Zach Evans, and for producer and camera designer Connor Baldwin, my name is Chris Graham. It has been a pleasure to have you hanging out with us here on this Thursday night. Coming up tomorrow night, live real-world racing action from Linda's Speedway, Jonestown, Pennsylvania. Full night of micro sprint racing action, weather permitting anyway. Coming up on Sunday night, we're back with the penultimate round of the High Slide Cup Series Championship. Back with the Silver Crowns and Sprints Monday and Tuesday as well. You don't want to miss any of it. But with that, we're getting the heck out of here. Until we talk to you next time, have a good night, everybody.